it's time for Media Watch with James Creedon. Johnny Halliday's last will there being the big story for you tonight as well.
That's right.
It's buzzing throughout France.
That's right. Lots of headlines, lots of analysis, lots of pouring through the private details, which have now become very public, of his last will and testament. So just to show you some of the headlines, Laura Smet, who is an actress, quite a well-known actress here in France, and the daughter of Johnny Hallyday and Nathalie Baye. Smet, rather.
Smet.
Indeed, Smet. Yes. The will of Johnny Hallyday is depriving her of the cover to it's basically, as he composed a song called Laura, and there's a signed cover of this disc, and she's not even getting that. So I think essentially what they're saying here, just underneath, is elle n'aura rien. She will get nothing, zero. And so there has been quite a lot of, we'll get to that in a second, but sympathy being expressed for her. I've chosen to fight, she says, and this is a photograph of her with her half-brother, with whom she's kind of taking this legal case, on the right of the photo, and then Laetitia, who is the wife, with the two children from the last marriage. So there was a display of unity at that funeral, but clearly the cracks were already there, and what we're seeing now is those cracks being put up on media, social media. This is a letter that she wrote, addressed to her father, posthumously, addressed to him, cher papa, dear father, and it was given to the AFP news agency, and it's been all over the French media today, with some pretty, where she basically says to him, we sat around the dinner table just a few weeks ago, and you asked me when I was going to have children. What do I now have to hand on to these children in your memory? It's very personal stuff, and clearly the decision was made to put this in the public arena. Also on her Instagram account today, published just 8 hours ago, a photo of Laura Smet with her half-brother, with whom she is taking this case. So clearly we're seeing the battle lines being drawn, if you like, and you know, many people are reacting to it already. Just even her biographer, his biographer rather, saying he's really sorry to see all of this sort of so publicly being unveiled, but that the cracks were already there, and that there's now this clear divide between the American side of the family, his wife, who lives in the States with their two children, and the clan in France. So sort of clan divisions, if you like.
The kids are getting a lot of support from social media, though.
Yes, a whole range of opinions being expressed on social media, and I think that we'll start with this one. After the public sort of homage, if you like, there was such a huge display of love for Johnny Hallyday, the biggest rock star in France, and now we're having, I suppose, the dirty laundry, if you like, being gone through. That's kind of a loose way of translating that tweet. This one is basically saying money, 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 and I suppose where there is money, there's often conflict. Others saying how sad this is, and actually using hashtags for everybody concerned, the widow, the children, and then of course people taking sides, saying with all my heart I support Laura Smet and David Hallyday. Hallyday, of course, being the stage name that Johnny Hallyday used, and Smet being his original family name. So interesting that his children chose to kind of not the coherent version.
Right.
Others expressing a lot of support for Laetitia Hallyday, and saying that this is very difficult for her to live through all of this, and some saying, look, maybe he did make this decision himself, and maybe it was for his two younger children that he made this choice, saying that the two older siblings are not exactly under a bridge. Anyway, so as people are paying a lot of attention to the case.
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing, right? Yes. They're inviting the public to basically partake in this whole feud.
That's right.
That's what she's doing,
and trying to get public opinion to favour
on their side. Them. Absolutely. Yeah. This isn't the first time, however, that divisions within the family have made news. We saw that photo from the funeral looking very unified, but in fact, as you said, the cracks were already there. They have been for a very long time.
That's right, and I suppose Laetitia Hallyday has been cast as the gatekeeper, not just to Johnny Hallyday, who of course had many problems in his private life, addiction problems, all of that, and he also had a habit. This headline says it well in an article from Les Inrecuptibles going back a few years. A complicated relationship between Johnny Hallyday and money. He was known for, picking up bills left, right, and centre, and
he's a generous man,
very generous man, spending his money in a very sort of spontaneous manner, and apparently she sort of helped to kind of structure that that a little bit better. But what else? What other headlines do we have? But the funeral as well. At that time, people were critical of the decision to bury him on the French Caribbean island of Saint Bat, which is quite far away. Including the mother of one of his children, but many defending him on social media, saying, look, this in fact was his decision. And I suppose it always comes down to this with wills. I mean, if it's somebody's will and their desire, then can that really be questioned? And I suppose what the legalities of this will turn on is to what extent it was his decision, or a decision was being taken.
Well, the family life, it seems, in general, was complicated because Laetitia, who we saw, was his fourth wife. Right. And he had, children with several different women. So it does make sense that this would be a complicated process. Now, finally, the legal aspect of the story is being played out on social media.
That's right. You were speaking to a lawyer earlier who went into some of the details on this. But in any case, a will was drawn up 10 years ago or so in France. But a more recent will was drawn up in California, where it is possible to disinherit your children, which is actually not possible to do in France. You can't disinherit direct heirs, if you like. So what is interesting is a case from, I think it was November 2017, so quite recently, looked into some of the jurisprudence of this, and from September 2017. And essentially what it said is if you have been disinherited because of wills or trusts that were drawn up in another jurisdictions such as the US, the only way that can really be contested is if you can prove that you are in a precarious situation, which his children are not. So that is something that will probably work. That particular piece of jurisprudence will work in favour of Laetitia Hallyday.
Well, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Thank you so much, James Creedon there.